Hey friends, Paul here. We're back at that mall, the Chihuahua Mall, and let me see if I can do this. No, you won't be able to hear me that far away. I'm going to hold it in my hand. So basically, we're getting things done with the rehabs. We're getting things done with the government. We're going to open up some ranches and put some people in there. We're going to have people run it, right? There we go. We're going to have people run it, and I'm going to oversee it. And we're going to have the program that really works. You know, the one that's in the book that they wrote in 1938. So we're all good. Now, we talked about resentments. We talked about shame and guilt. We talked about frustration. What I haven't talked about yet was fear. Okay, what do we do with fear? Well, when we're afraid, it's usually we're afraid of the future. And if you're afraid of the future, you're really not trusting in the higher power, right? I know when I'm afraid of the future, where's God at? God's nowhere to be seen. So we got to have faith, and that faith comes from working the steps, you know? We work the steps and we have faith. We start off by believing. Now, in page 68 in the book, and what do we do with fear? It says we trust God. We trust infinite God instead of our finite selves. I should be afraid if I'm only trusting me, but I shouldn't be afraid when I cut God in on the deal. There's no room for fear. And why do I know that? I look back, and almost every time I was afraid of the future, I didn't die. Oh, actually, every time I was afraid of the future, I never died. Obviously, right? So, I'm okay. So all that worry worked. No, all that worry was for nothing, you know. So how do we stay away from fear in the future? Well, we got a track record of being fearful 6,342 times and nothing bad happened. That's one thing. Second of all, we trust God instead of our trust ourselves, but we also play the role that He assigns. What do you think God would have you do, and what do you think God would have you be? If you do that, you know, now that we're sober and we got each other and we got food and shelter and a job, or we got an opportunity for a job, this is not the time to be afraid. The time to be afraid was when you're out on the streets or sitting on a bar stool, drinking, using drugs, shooting fentanyl. That was the time to be afraid, but it seemed like we weren't afraid at all. But we were that close to death. Now we're sober. We've taken toxic chemicals out of our system that will kill us. And now we're going to be afraid? This is not the time to be afraid. We are going to be A-okay. We got each other. We hang together. We work together. And we're going to be okay. Not the time to worry. But we're also going to play the role God assigns. Just as we do as we think He'd have us do, can we match calamity with serenity? That means no matter what's going on in your life, you'll walk through it with no problem if you do what you think God would have you do. I don't know if it's matches serenity with calamity, but it's definitely not freaking out. It's definitely not being tortured and paralyzed by fear. You get through things with God. With yourself, you should be afraid. If you're just walking through things by yourself, all alone, with no friends, no other people in recovery, and no God, probably should be afraid. Why? Because you're going to end up drinking and using those toxic chemicals again. Because we can't stay sober alone. Here's the deal. We cannot stay sober alone. Period. Now, because we're going to go back to drinking and using, that's the major fear we should have by being alone. We got each other. We got a program that works 100%. We got our wits about it. We got our brains back. We're more efficient now. We're smarter now. We're wiser now. We got each other now. Got each other to lean on and each other to help. Not the time to be afraid. And we got God. We got God. God's going to handle this, man. News flash. God is still in charge. News at 11. God's in charge, man. And that's what this whole program is about, is to get a conscious contact with God so He'll solve that problem of the great obsession that comes from a restless, irritable, fearful, resentful, angry, shameful, guilty place. It's the bottom line. We're going to work spiritual steps. We're going to live along spiritual basis to get rid of all that shame, guilt, fear, resentment, anger, restless, irritable, discontent feeling. And we're going to be okay sober. What can I do for you? And that's long enough. That's basically what we do with fear. It's just play the role God assigns. Do what you think He'd have you do. Humbly rely on Him. And then we're going to stay sober. And we're going to lean on each other. I get by with a little help from my friends, okay? So she's got the phone going. I'm going to hang up because this is enough 5-minute video. And I love y'all. I'll talk to you later today or tomorrow.